In this brief introduction, we're going to show you how to use Webull and how it works. Once you enter Webull, typically it shows you a watch list. Since I have an account here, it shows me my current positions and how they're doing at this time. This is nice to see and check in. You can have multiple different lists. As you can see, if you click on the top left, you can have my positions, my watch list, healthcare and medical, good dividends, get in and get out, big risky gains, renewable energy, leverage ETFs, weed stocks, swing trades. So for instance, let's take a look at weed stocks. This shows you how they're doing today. As you can see, they're all up except for Altria Group is slightly down. Now we're going to go into the markets area, which you can see in the bottom, second from the left. The markets area is where you get a general picture of what's happening to the market that day. You can compare industrial averages, you can see percentages, but also it'll show you in the IPO center which companies are getting ready for an IPO, and you can buy them at that price. This shows you overall advancers versus decliners, and it's a good way to see how the market's doing. Sometimes it's pretty obvious, other times it can be a little helpful. This is net inflow of billions, and this is also a nice tool. This is a great way that you can see top gainers and be more aggressive. You can look after hours, you can look pre-market. Pre-market is before the market opens between 4 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. After hours is between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. That way you can get a good idea. It's never always right, but you can get a good idea of which stocks are about to move and have people's attention. And you can also look for multiple days, which you would see that apparently Avenger has a ton of change over the past 5 days. The same thing is true down here with top losers. You can do the same process. Tantec Holdings should have done better. And then you can also see volume, which is showing you how much is going on, how many orders are taking place. NIO is one of the stocks I own, and a ton of volume's happening. It's an electric vehicle company in China, and a lot of changes have happened over the past week that have made the company's price go up significantly and down significantly. And you can see how some ETFs are performing that day. There's more to this, but this is just a nice introduction that can help you get started. Same is true for cryptos. I'm not going to get into it. I don't dabble, but it's there. You can invest in pretty much every significant crypto through Webull too. Global shows you global markets. And you can also look at foreign exchange and trade currencies too. Yada, yada, yada. Now we're going to click the little bull, which is the center area. It's like a bull's horns. Clicking that bull will bring you to your personal account. It starts you off in assets. I'm not going to scroll down and show anything here because these are my personal assets and you don't really need to see them. But since I've blurred it, you can see some green and some red. It's an account that happens. But up above that is more important stuff. So I'll unblur that. This shows you your cash balance, how much cash you have in the account, and there's buying power, which is different than the cash available. This starts with the amount of cash you have and then deducts orders you have planned, which I'll show you in a minute. But basically, if you have 500 and you have an order to buy a share at 250, and that order is just waiting until the price gets to that, then you can't spend that more than the 250 that's left. Even though your cash is 500, 500 minus that 250 for the order equals the remaining 250. So you see the buying power is higher than the settled cash. That's one of the things I really like about Webull. I have a cash account. I'm not using margin or borrowing money, but they still let me use the money right away from either a deposit or from a sale, and I appreciate that, and it's something that Robinhood has only just recently introduced in some ways, and is a reason why Webull stands tall over Robinhood. Webull takes a couple of days to settle cash from a deposit or from a sale, which is their business model for how they make money. They hold all money from all people for those 2 to 3 days. And while it's being held, they're getting interest off it. And that's how they can continue to do what they do without charging commission fees like a lot of big brokerage houses. The rest is pretty self-explanatory. Unsettled cash, options buying power, and crypto buying power. Profits and losses will show you how you've done over time. You can go into this and modify it very easily and look at individual stocks, how you've done with them over time. You can look at dividends, margin interest. It's a good tool just to look at how you're doing, but I'm not going to get into it right now. If you slide over one more to orders, this is nice. This is orders that you've placed that haven't filled yet. I'll show you how to place an order, and then I'll show you how to modify it. There are multiple ways you can do this. One easy way is to go into watch lists in the bottom left, and then in the top of that area you'll see a magnifying glass, which is the search. Click that. Now you can type in whatever stock you want. For this case, we'll just talk about Apple. So you can type in the company name or the ticker. Then you click on the stock. Now it pulls up the chart, which I'll show you how to use, and it's very nice, and we can also place an order. This is a candlestick chart, which I find easier to read. To find out more about candlesticks, there's a ton of videos out there. It's not that hard, it takes a little time. You can zoom in here, and you can see at a certain given time whether there are more buy or sell orders. At the very bottom, you can see it's set up, those little green and red ridges show you the volume. And if you click at a certain given time, Webull will show you all the information from that given time, which Webull says at that given time, 1342, the high was 159.80, the close was 160.06, and the volume at that time was 368,000 shares. You can set it up not just to be 2 minutes, but any of these ranges in between. You can also look at data that's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. The D there that you see is where the dividend was paid, and the E is where earnings were announced. These are great tools for someone who's looking to make different moves based on how the market is working. At the top you can see scrolling across is one of the most recent news stories related to this company. Options is something you probably shouldn't do at this point. It's a very aggressive strategy, and you'll need to look up a lot of information on your own about how to do options. I can personally tell you there's some little rules about it regarding wash sales and exercising options that it didn't cause me to lose money, but I did lose money. I was the cause. That was after I had watched multiple tutorials, read multiple articles. It is definitely it's a more risky strategy. If you do it, you should know that going into it, that you stand to lose a lot more than you would from just buying stocks and selling stocks. It amplifies the risk and amplifies the reward. So, like I said, I wouldn't go into that at this point. There's a lot more we can do for now. News brings in, it does a very good job. It only misses one or two here or there, but it brings in articles and recent articles mentioning Apple in some way. So you can see 3 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago, 18 minutes ago, 28 minutes ago. You can click on whichever one you would like to and read the full article. Comments you can ignore. Just like anywhere on the internet, people say a lot of stuff even though they have no credibility. Analysis can be helpful. They bring in information based on different analysts. You can see 45 analysts they brought in about this stock. Strong buy, a hold, underperform, which means you might want to sell it, or sell, which they think you should sell it. These are all up to you, but these are what the analysts say. Here are a few of the price targets set by these analysts. Highest price target is 215. The lowest is 160. As you can see, the average is 193. Down here show you the positions people hold and which people are in the money, which means if they sold it now they would make money, and which people are out of the money, which means if they sold it now they would lose money. Looks like a little under half are in the money. You can just see it by looking with your eye, but it tells you down here, looks like about 40%, maybe a little more. Oh, it says right here, 41.12%. And the cost concentration shows you 90% of the cost range of all the shares is between 143 and 178. Here it shows you the support and resistance lines. You see it broke under that line very recently, and that would indicate a good time to buy. Short interest shows you the millions of shares that are being shorted. You can look up a lot more about that, but that has to do with the whole thing of GameStop. People bought more shares that were shorted, and a few other things happened that resulted in some of these people trying to short the stock had to sell it aggressively, and that sell rocketed this stock. As of 2/28, there's 110 million shares being shorted. The higher it is, the more unlikely it is for the stock to go up, typically. Company is a nice one. We get to that by clicking on the top here. You can go into all financials. That could be a whole separate video. You can change all of these markers to something you would like to look at. If you scroll down to the bottom left, you can click on quarterly or annual reports. If you click on the right, you can click the exact financial detail you want. You can look at earnings per share, that's EPS, that's always a good one to look at. Net margin, debt to asset, and you can look at any of these over time and compare them to see if it's a stock that you think would be good. I always do this for stocks that I'm looking to hold for a long amount of time. Also in here you can look at press releases, shows you things like when a stock does a split or reverse split. This one happened in 2020, which I remember. I had a decent amount of shares, not decent, but I had a few shares before that. Down below you can look at insider trading. So when someone who has a high position in the company, when they trade by selling or buying stock, they have to list that, and you can see that. The profile is nice because if it's a company you don't know, you can find a decent amount about it right there. You can read a decent amount and get a feel for what the company does, when it was founded. It tells you some of the key executives, and also very nice, it shows you who owns it. So institutions own 60% of Apple. If you click on institutions, you can actually see which institutions those are. The same is true of insiders. There's a ton of great information in Webull that if you use it correctly, it can really benefit you. Back to the chart option, this is the way I normally do it. You can click trade in the bottom left. This is for buy or sell. Since I don't have any shares here, it'll be for a buy. I always buy with a limit order. I never buy with a market order. The reason I do this is because I like to know the price it's going to be. So if I set the price here, it will not buy above that price. It will buy at that price or lower. So we're going to try to find a decent price to put, which is below that support line. So I'm putting my finger here and I'm scrolling down to the lowest of where that dip was on the 14th. Looks like 149. We'll round up 150. So we're going to place the order for 150, one share. And here's a great thing. One of the things I recommend about Webull is that you can do extended hours, which means pre-market and after hours. So you get an extra 5.5 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the evening. So an extra 9.5 hours where it will buy for you, whereas almost all other trading platforms do not allow that. Robinhood only gives you an hour before and after. Okay, we're going to click day, and then we just click buy. And now our order is placed. We can modify it right away. You can see at the bottom in the middle. We can cancel it if we changed our mind. And then we can also find that. I'll show you where if we want to modify it later or cancel it. We're going to go back out of the search area. We're going to click in the middle to the Webull horns. And now we're in orders, which you can see is the third one over from the left. There's our order right there. We can click on it. That'll show us the order. And we click again on modify. We can modify it, change that price up or down, or cancel it. Transfers, this shows you the status of what you're able to withdraw. And you can also make a deposit from your bank. History is great if you want to see what's been bought. So you can see Apple's working on buying it because we just placed that. It hasn't done it because it hasn't reached that price, but it's waiting until it does. Documents, where you find your account statements and tax documents. You can also find these on the internet browser version. Community and messages, this is where some promotional things would be, and messages is where it gives you some updates and information. What I'm going to get into now is setting up price notifications. We're going to click on Sundial now in our wheat stocks. Right now we're on daily. We're going to go back to 2 minutes. And then, if you see at the bottom, 2 over from trade, there's a little bell with a plus on it. Then you can set a whole host of price alerts. First of all, this one at the top is a toggle whether this is on or off for notifications. Here at the plus, you can click and add price above, price below. You can click in if you want to modify it. We're going to modify it right now. And for the price above, we want to know when it's above 64 cents. You can see the one grayed out. We used to want to know when it's above 90 cents, but we grayed that out because it hasn't been down there up there in a while. And we can repeat it once a day, once a minute, or unlimited. We can also have volume alerts that tell you when the stock is reaching a certain volume. We used to have it set at 100 million shares, but we turned it off. We can get news, so it should tell you when there's a news update. You can also go and set sharp rise, sharp fall, and then strategy for the moving average. We're going to click save in the top right. Now it's set. It'll show you as a notification as a phone, and it'll also show you while you're in the app of Webull, and you can find it if you go over to messages, price alerts, and it shows you the alerts you had recently. Most recent alert was at 10:38 for PTN, and that was a volume alert. This is my favorite stock trading app. Their commission is the lowest, they're the most consistent, they give you the most features, and they give you the most information in a good way. They're not trying to trick you by designing a user face that looks all happy-go-lucky. They just have a good quality product. Full disclosure, I do have Robinhood too, but I use Webull for like 90% of all stock stuff that I do. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you want 2 free stocks, you can click on that link in the description, and we'll both get 2 free stocks. The stocks are normally between like $4 and $25, but it's nice. You can sell it and just cash it out, deposit that money back in your bank, and it's just a nice little gift. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.